Welcome to the Programmatic Digest podcast, a weekly roundup of top programmatic news with fellow programmatic ninjas. I'm your host, Helene Parker, your very own programmatic sensei. Thank you for joining us today. Before we get into today's conversation, subscribe, like, and share. Leave us a comment. If you need any more details, visit our website, programmaticdigest.com, programmaticdigest.com, where you'll be prompted for our new weekly or monthly newsletter. It only alerts you when there's a new episode live. So thank you so much for all your support and love, and remember to be curious. Enjoy the conversation. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the conversation so far. I'm going to take the next 30 seconds to a minute to tell you all about my birthday challenge. I'm celebrating my birthday month, and I'm doing a birthday challenge in looking for 5 additional clients to sign up. I'm the founder and chief programmatic sensei of Helene Parker Consulting LLC, and I specialize in increasing the efficiency of my agency partners by 25% on average. How do I do it? By providing comprehensive media strategies, auditing operational workflows to help programmatic and digital media teams at excelling and managing client campaigns and thriving in a happier work environment. The last 12 months have been difficult for all of us, and agency teams might be feeling burnout from round-the-clock campaign management, keeping up with this industry trends, and learning new platform capabilities. This kind of fatigue leads to human errors that can be easily avoided in the future with my help. So I'm focusing on helping as many companies as I can as I begin another year of my life this month. Can you help me help you or someone you know that could really benefit from my services? Email me at info@heleneparker.com. That's phonetically heleneparker.com. Enjoy the rest of the conversation. Welcome to the podcast, Stefanie. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yes. Happy Thursday. Happy first week of June, even though this podcast is going to be maybe posted in a couple of weeks from now. I'm super excited because it is my birthday month and I like to celebrate the whole month.
Oh, that's nice. Happy birthday.
Thank you. It's not
Any
until
big plans?
So me and my husband try to take quarterly vacations. And so I told him that this was his turn to plan a surprise vacation. So I'm hoping we're going to get to travel a little bit safely and ditch the baby with her grandparents, even though I can only do 3 days away. He said that he'll only plan like a 3-day getaway. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, that's always so nice to refresh, recharge, and come back.
Oh, yeah. So welcome to the Sunset's Corner. You are Stefanie Beach. You are the founder and CEO of SMB Media Consulting. And You're a badass, a programmatic unicorn, like I like to say. So I will let you introduce yourself to those who don't know who you are yet.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Stefanie Beach. I am the founder and CEO of SMB Media Consulting. We are a full service digital media consultancy that provide all different kinds of services, from programmatic strategy and execution through paid search, paid social, as well as working with publishers on helping them monetize their websites. So because my background is both on the buy and sell side, I try to bring that into my company in working with both brands and publishers.
That is really cool. I think it's such a cool model and concept. I came across your website maybe a year and a half ago, and I've been following you on LinkedIn, trying to see like, what is she doing now? Like I've had so much inspiration and almost like a fangirling moment with what you're doing. So thank you so much for making the time. So today we're going to talk about the latest and greatest with Google, just in case people don't hear enough. I figured we'll just remind them what's happening. So Google has recently gave us an update about their not tracking Androids anymore. But before we get into today's conversation, I really want to learn more about your journey. I know you mentioned that you're helping publishers and then you're offering different services, but walk us through this journey before you decided to make the jump, or what made you
want to do it in the first place, or just walk us through like your journey into where you are
Yeah.
today.
So my whole career, I've been working in digital media.
Mm-hmm.
I think majority of us have started out in agency life, right?
Yep.
Working for an agency.
Same.
And when I first started, I did the same thing, and digital was actually being given away as added value.
Oh my
People,
gosh, yes.
yeah.
Way
And the
back.
biggest metric that everybody wanted to know about was click-through rate.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that was the metric of success. I'm definitely dating myself right now, but that's pretty much what we were kind of doing. We were working as I was working at a traditional agency in their digital department at the time, which was basically me and my boss.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I moved on to a digitally focused agency. Really learned so much more about digital and online media
Mm-hmm.
and planning and things of that sort. And then I kind of soireed into ad tech.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for an ad server for a little while, and then I worked for MediaMath for about 4 years, which is a DSP, and then I
Yep.
worked at Pubmatic for 2 years on the publisher side. And I consciously made that jump from MediaMath to Pubmatic when MediaMath was moving down to World Trade Center. It wasn't a place that I felt comfortable working, and I didn't want to go to a competitor. I was like, I really love what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
but I really love this company and just didn't feel right
Wow.
going to another DSP. So I was like, let me learn another side of the business and try something different.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made the jump, and I met some really great people and learned the publisher side of the business. In September of 2016, I left Pubmatic and decided, let's see if I could move into something a little bit different. My daughter at the time was starting real school, and with my commute and everything, I just felt like I didn't have any work-life balance. And
Yeah.
so I was really looking to try to find a role where
Mm-hmm.
I could still do what I enjoyed doing, but be home part-time.
Wow. Okay.
Now we're all home, everybody's home
Yeah.
now,
Now
right?
that
But in
being home is super sexy and convenient and
yeah,
flexible.
right. But in 2016,
Yeah.
I interviewed for about a year with people
Wow.
and could not get 2 days a week from home. I
Wow.
even gave up managing a team. I was like,
Oh
I'll
my
be an individual
gosh.
contributor. And it was like, sorry, 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 sorry. So I kind of fell into freelancing and really enjoyed the impact that I was having on the businesses that I was working for and the companies I was working with. And I was actually really upset one day because I did turn down a couple of roles
Yeah.
during that time. And there was a couple of roles that were a little far-fetched, but I went for them anyway.
Yeah.
And there was one particular role with a remote company that I knew was a long shot for me because it was something totally out of my comfort zone. And I didn't get the role. And I was so upset. And my husband was like, why don't you just consult full time? And I was like, I didn't think that was an option. So instead of looking for a job, I started looking for more clients. And then my
Wow.
clients started asking for more services. And so that's how my company was born. And I created this consultancy for people who, can't afford a big agency, don't really want to work with a big team, maybe are just starting out, and can really kind of work with a nimble team that is fully transparent.
Mm-hmm.
We educate as we go. While we bring our relationships and our technology and platforms to the table,
Mm-hmm.
those relationships actually sit with the customer. So if anything happens with our relationship, they still
Mm-hmm.
have all of their historical data, all of their information, their setup and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're working across paid search, social, and programmatic for a lot of our clients where we could be a resource for them and act as an extension of their digital marketing team.
Right. I think it's so fascinating because I can relate to your not pain point but to your growth, because I just made the leap maybe 2.5 ago 2.5 years ago. And the reason what I did was exactly that. At that point in my life, I wanted to be able to be much more flexible in my scheduling. It was about exchanging value instead of hourly work.
Yes.
And my husband told me the same thing. He's like, you've been freelancing here and there for the last couple of years. Like, why don't you just consider? And I had great relationship in my network, like with the We Are Rosie or the Work Reduced with places, freelancers. And so I tested that for a while. And then very recently after she was born, so about a year ago, I realized like, I just don't want to only do that. I have much more to offer, but I want to keep learning, and kept receiving, just like you, kept receiving like consulting opportunity. And now I'm like, all right, only focusing on one thing. And I am all about embracing and sharing and really like applauding women like yourself that are doing what I aspire to do, or that are inspiring me to continue doing it. Because sometimes it's really rough. Like it's 2021, but I don't think there's a, even though it's people out there in LinkedIn and saying like diversity and inclusion is very sexy, and we're hiring female CEOs and this and that. I still feel like there is a lack of support for like female entrepreneurs out there. And I really had to look
Especially
for
being a
it.
parent.
Oh,
Yes.
I really had to look for it.
Yeah.
And I came across you again very intentionally. Like I looked at you and I was like, man, I need to reach out to her, even if it's just to be friends or just because I strongly believe in elevating people around us and letting people know that you've influenced my life in a great way. And I'm not going to hold back. And now I say it loud and clear, like other podcasts, a million
Yes.
people are probably going to listen to it, and that's okay. But we have to do this. So I really applaud what you're doing. And I only
Thanks.
wish you amazing things to happen. I know amazing things are going to continue to happen. Like I have no doubt of that.
Thank
So
you. Yeah, it's been really great, and
yeah.
I've read so many books about, women entrepreneurship and,
Mhm.
uh, different, I've read Lean In and, all of these. I listen to different podcasts as well and really try to find inspiration and kind of figure out like, how do they balance it all and how do they do it all? And the thing is that you really can't,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you could create a lifestyle for yourself
Mhm.
that is manageable,
Yeah.
and sometimes you read these books and you look at these female CEOs and, of these large companies and
Mhm.
things like that. And you're like, wow, but you know what? It's not always realistic, right? We
No.
can't always have an office next to our office where our kids could have a daycare. We
Yeah.
don't always have the ability to have a full-time nanny or want a full-time nanny.
Mhm.
Like I don't want to have this amazing job, and I'm not trying to bash anybody who is doing
No, of
this,
course.
to their own, but I didn't want somebody else raising my kids either.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think
Yeah.
that for women, it's a big struggle, or it has been a big
Oh yeah.
struggle of career versus parenthood. And I think that, there can be a balance.
Yeah.
And you can still work and do what you love while being an available parent.
Wow. That's great that you just shared that. And I think it's a good segue into one of the questions I wanted to ask, like how, like balancing everything. And I always try to be mindful of the questions I ask to male guests and female guests. But the reality is that I'm more interested in what a female guest will say about this, because we have
Right.
different responsibilities and then we have different focus. Like my husband has different
Mm-hmm.
focus than I have. And what you just said about work-life balance, I truly don't think it's a true, the way we've defined it as an industry. I don't always agree with how it's defined, and I don't think it's truly like it doesn't exist. Almost like agencies have said, oh yeah, we support work life balance, but the reality is that it's not there. Like you have to be able to segment your day, and there's little humans, and the last year has really pushed the industry to realize that indeed this is happening. So thank you for sharing. And talking about the last year, do you think it's shifted like from a business perspective as well, and also from a personal perspective, how has that shifted with your clientele, in addition to everything happening in the industry, like the cookie deprecation happening in the next year? Like today we wanted to talk about the Android updates that Google just launched. So how has COVID and everything influenced the last 12 months from a business perspective, but also on a personal note as well?
From a business perspective, I've been fairly lucky, I
Mhm.
have to say. I did lose a few small clients in the
Mhm.
beginning of COVID that couldn't sustain, the lockdown and the
Mhm.
shutdown of things, or who weren't necessarily, you know, um,
Yeah.
have big budgets to begin with, or production of their products weren't able to be done, things like that, especially when people are having products created and shipped from overseas, right? There was a
Yeah.
huge issue there. So I did lose a couple of small clients, but a couple of my main clients surprisingly did really well.
Wow.
Um, I one of my larger accounts is a home decor brand.
Mhm.
So, during lockdown, everybody was decorating their houses and
Yeah.
creating home offices and things of that sort. So I was fairly fortunate. I did find it hard to prospect and try to get people talking. People were very afraid to spend money, um,
Mhm.
especially on the publisher side, which I felt like the publishers kind of needed us almost the most. And then some of the smaller brands or these mom and pop shops that are typical brick and mortar had no idea or had no budget to go online. So
Yeah.
it was really hard to kind of drum up new business. I want to say, like, towards the end of last summer, beginning of fall, it
Mhm.
started picking up a little bit more, and people were kind of more open to talking and seeing like the light at the end of the tunnel, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then now I kind of feel like with everybody, with things opening up more and
Yeah.
everybody being used to working from home, and more people understanding the online universe, I guess,
Yeah.
it has been a little bit better and more consistent, and people are starting to open up again.
Right. I think I was reading the article from Destination Analyst, and I'll make sure to add in our show notes. But I think it was saying that 67% of people are like highly likely to travel this summer because of the
Mhm.
everything reopening, and then that is translating into ad dollars for tourism and
Mhm.
the traveling industry. So I don't know if it's 67, but it was like above the 60%. And I'm sure that the number may be
Mhm.
updated now because they do studies almost like very often. So again, Destination Analysts, they offer like free articles and free resources to anyone that is working in the tourism industry. I strongly recommend you follow them or at least sign up to their newsletter. But that's great. So you would say that even though people could not get into the store, that client did rather well, or did they
Yeah.
still stay open?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, they did rather well. So yeah, they did everything e-commerce. There were some products that were sold out and
Mhm.
then on back order because we couldn't get things from other countries.
Mhm.
But they were able to do pre-orders and things like that. So we got a little creative with how we were able to still make money even
Mm,
though we weren't able to have product.
got it.
Um, so I worked with some of my clients on that as well, and then kind of also, got creative with some other ideas for other clients in offering, something in exchange for,
Mhm.
their product. So maybe doing more of like a uh, webinar and talking
Mm,
about things,
yeah.
or, letting people know what's coming and stuff like that. So really trying to still keep their audience engaged, regardless of the client, and keeping those people fresh and coming back to their site and reading their content, and you know buying products or ordering products,
Mm,
pre-ordering products online.
got it. Okay. So on the publisher side, because I know you've mentioned that you manage publishers relationship for your client and for the business. How has that shifted? Like I can't imagine that in the last year, people streaming and consuming more digital content has affected them in a negative way, or maybe not. But in the midst and of cookie deprecation, how are you having conversation? How are you having conversation with those partners?
Yeah, so I also attended DigiDay last
Mhm.
month, which was
Right.
also a big topic of uh, the end of the cookie.
I
So
can't
it was very
imagine.
interesting. I know. And what is really interesting is that it seems like there's a lot of different partners popping up in order to help remedy this.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of talk about what's the best path moving forward. And
Mhm.
it seems that both brands and publishers are are kind of doing different things, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And they're testing out this and they're testing out
Yeah.
that. And what I'm finding and what I'm seeing and what's being talked about and what I'm reading is that a
Mm.
lot of the larger companies are doing a lot of these testing things because they could afford to.
Yeah.
And they're working with DMPs and trying to mine more first party data, and all of these things, but it seems like everybody is kind of doing it differently and figuring out what works best. And then a lot of the smaller companies, and even what they were saying in a lot of the sessions on Digiday, is that they're just kind of like wait and see.
Mhm. Yeah.
I have been talking to a lot of the SSP and DSP partners that I've been working with,
Mhm.
my clients, to see, what is it that they are rolling out in response to this.
Mhm.
Um, and, it's been really interesting because everybody's talking about it, but I personally don't feel like there's one real clear solution,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, and I've been trying to direct my clients towards honing in more on first party data,
Mhm.
not only because how rich and valuable it is and how accurate it could be for them in terms of targeting and understanding their audience,
Mhm.
but also to prepare for what this cookieless world is going to look like,
Yeah.
uh, and not just totally be caught off guard. A lot of people say that they're talking about things internally,
Mhm.
and they're coming out with solutions, but I haven't really seen anything on this is what we're going to do and this is
Yeah.
how it's really going to work.
Well, okay.
And even with this iOS update on Facebook and
Mhm.
things of that sort, it's already impacting results now. So, I'm asking, Facebook support and my Facebook specialist, like, what's happening here with cookies when this goes away? And they're like, we don't have an answer yet. Like, Facebook hasn't come back with anything yet. Google hasn't necessarily said any too much yet. Although, the person that does search for me as well,
Mhm.
Google event last week or two
Yeah.
weeks ago, whenever it was, and said the same thing. So it's the talk of the town, and everybody is trying to come out with something to fix this,
Mhm.
but there hasn't really been something that's a one size fits all, I feel like.
Right. That's a good point. I just came across one of the Proasca Consulting LinkedIn posts where they shared all partners offering a identity solution. And I said, when I say it was like a full page, it was a full page. So I say that to say, let's not panic. It's okay, guys. There's partners out there. We just need to figure out which one will fit our business objectives, campaign performance
Yes.
objectives, and also our team best. Because you can sign up to one of those big vendors, make that investment, but ultimately your team is going to run it. So if you're going to invest in a partner, make sure you invest time and training time specifically into your team so they know how to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Um,
And
because
then sorry, go ahead.
no, you can go ahead.
I
That's
was going to say another good thing that was brought up
Mhm.
during that conference as well was that, a lot of people are relying on their agency to
Mhm.
guide them or make that decision for them,
Yeah.
where it is something that the company really needs to figure out yes, we could guide you and help you and give you the information and help you with the research, but it really is something that they need to figure out long term what fits for their business and their long-term business goals. And the agency adopting a partner and saying, use this, might not necessarily be the best solution for that company.
Right.
And then they might realize that a little too late, The other thing is that with all of these technology partners, it's also interesting because they're just as scared of losing their advertisers and their publishers as the brands and the publishers are of losing the cookies, right?
Yeah.
So they are working diligently behind the scenes to come up with solutions as well. So I do feel like it is a big topic and I feel like it's really important, but at the same time, when I try to kind of think about it or think about like some of the panic behind it, there's going to be something like,
absolutely.
You're not going to work with somebody like AdRoll or Media Math and then all of a sudden, next year rolls around and everything goes completely dark. They're going to want to avoid that as well. So yeah, there might be an add-on or there might be a plugin or something more that you need to subscribe to or buy into within the platform, possibly, to make this work. But there will be some type of a solution where the partners that you're currently working with will be able to remedy that for you.
Yeah.
And it's just another question, is that again enough for what your long-term business goals are?
Yeah, that's a great way to conclude this this segment actually. So guys, let's take a breather. Like Anna Colibri would say, she's like, here's a tip, breathe. And so let's just breathe through things. We do have time, but it doesn't mean that we should just wait. I would strongly recommend to not only turn to your partners or trust them, but also questions. Like it's okay to let them know, like, I want to know some information, but I trust that you'll do whatever is needed to make sure we keep performance at a certain level, that we don't lose the type of analysis that we've been receiving so far, reporting metrics, for instance. But there will be change happening. So do not expect that everything is going to be smooth sailing when this happens. Like, no, you're going to see maybe drastic changes, but ultimately is that before you get to that point, you are preparing now. And the best way to prepare, in Stefanie's word, is to, partner with the right people, question your partners, do your own research, and then continue testing. Start testing right now.
Yes.
So thank you so much for sharing. And all right, so in the closing, I know in the beginning shared that we were going to talk about the Ad Exchanger article, but I think the conversation we'll had was so much more important. So I will still add the Ad Exchanger note article into the show notes for those who are interested in reading it if you haven't read it already. So in our closing segment, I like to ask a few questions. So give us 3 fun facts in less than 30 seconds.
3 fun facts. Okay, so I am a native New Yorker, born and raised in the Bronx, still living here. I became a pescatarian about 9 years ago.
Wow, okay.
I'm very into nutrition, what goes into our food, how our food kind of nourishes our body. And things of that sort. And a 3rd fun fact, I know it's like you put me on the spot here. I have a food blog, actually.
Oh, nice. Please do share so I can add in the show notes.
Thanks. Yes, it has taken a little bit of a backseat because I've been crazy busy with my real business. But I do keep my Instagram updated, and it's called stefskitchen.com. And it's all really like innovative, great, meatless recipes. I really enjoy cooking, and my dream job would be to host a cooking show one day.
Oh my gosh. I know, like, you guys heard it here. If in 5 years from now we see her on, I don't know, OWN network, don't ask questions.
Yeah, right.
We knew it was going to happen anyway. We had no doubt. So the last question I wanted to ask you is that if you had to give yourself one advice or your freshman self when you just started in the programmatic world or digital media world, what would that be?
That's a really good question. So, and I've had a really great career, so I'm very fortunate, and I've had really great bosses and mentors. So, everybody who has been a part of my life and my career journey, thank you. I would say to take, let me see, this is a hard one. You really have
You
me
know,
thinking.
you just mentioned something that I wanted to highlight to everyone else, just in case you missed that bar. But she said, "Thank you to all my mentors." Like, it's so important in any business or any aspect of your life to have some type of mentorship, but also like a person that you can grow into being, but learn from. And that
Yes.
person needs to keep learning. Like, don't get a
Yes.
mentor that doesn't believe in mentoring their own self. Like, get a mentor who has a mentor who has a mentor,
Right.
because that
Yes.
shows growth, and that's what you want to do, you know? So,
Absolutely. I guess I would say to, always be curious.
mhm.
One thing that I think was really good for me in my career was that I wasn't afraid to ask questions. And no matter what role I was in or what level I was at, I always asked the hard questions. I was always the person in the room when everybody else was quiet, like, hey, I have one more question. Like, I was that
Okay.
annoying person. But it was that I wanted to learn and I wanted to make sure that I understood.
Mhm.
And then for the managers out there, my piece of advice to you would be to adapt your style of managing to fit your employees. It shouldn't be the other way around.
Mm,
And a lot of managers don't do that. And it's
mhm,
very difficult.
mhm,
A good manager will alter how they motivate each individual person on their team,
mhm.
how they speak to those people, and how they interact with those people to know how to get the best out of those people.
That is such a good way to end everything, because man, that's everything we needed. I can end it even more. I think it only makes me think about why every single agency I've worked with have forced us almost to take the DISC assessment.
Yes.
And at first it was like, here goes another personality test. But now that I'm in the like, now that I'm the CEO of my company, and then I'm hiring underneath like people to help me grow,
Hmm.
I'm discovering that oh man, can you take the DISC assessment? Because I really need to know if you're a high S or a high C, because I'm a very high I. So the way I
Right.
communicate has to be customized and personalized to the way they would communicate back at me, or to their different way of understanding things. So it's such a great way to end this podcast. So thank you so much for stopping by. We really appreciate you making the time.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your love and support. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you have any questions, feedback, or just simply want to say hi, email us at info@programmaticdigest.com. You can also visit the website programmaticdigest.com, where we're always looking for guest hosts. We're also looking for sponsors. So hit us up if you're interested.